everyone, I'm Maki. Today we are going to analyze the final battle of the movie Gundam Seed Freedom. Kira Yamato fights against the powerful mobile suits of the Foundation Kingdom. Many fans were amazed by the overwhelming fighting abilities of the Gundam piloted by Kira. However, it wasn't completely invincible. By analyzing detailed information, Kira's fighting techniques become clear. Please note that we will be discussing many spoilers from the movie. Urgent announcement! The Proud Defender with Lacus crying aboard is now merging with the Gundam. Press the subscribe button to perfectly support the merging action. The fate of the Earth depends on your actions. Thanks to the arrival of the Zugak piloted by Athran, Strike Freedom is able to escape a desperate situation. Then the Proud Defender with Lacus aboard merged with it. This resulted in the creation of the mighty Strike Freedom Gundam. Many fans have wondered why the cockpit where Lacus Crane sits is so cramped. In the magazine Great Mechanics, director Mitsuo Fukuda commented on the cockpit. Originally, the Proud Defender was not designed for human piloting, so they quickly made a cockpit, hence the cramped design. In the first half of the movie, there is a scene where Lacus rides a motorcycle. There are also photos of her riding the motorcycle herself. That's why they designed a motorcycle-like cockpit. Many fans were moved by the scene where Strike Freedom takes off his wings. It is very similar to the scene where Strike Gundam changes its striker pack. A large number of missiles are launched from large Dragoon Ziggurat. The Ziggurat is equipped with numerous missile launchers. There are 22 4-tube missile launchers, 6 3-tube missile launchers, and 16 4-tube missile launchers at the bottom of the aircraft. A total of 170 missiles can be launched simultaneously from a single ziggurat. In the missile launch scene, at least 2 missiles are launched from a single launch port. Thus, at least 340 missiles are launched from each ship. Since 3 ziggurats appear, a total of 1,020 missiles are launched. Since the scene shifts to show the Proud Defender's combination, it is possible that more missiles were actually fired. As explained in previous shows, Kira's objective is to protect the Oak Fleet and destroy the giant beam cannon Requiem. His ultimate goal is to protect the people of Orb and prevent the Foundation Kingdom from ruling by fear. If such a large number of missiles were fired at the Orb Fleet, it would have caused considerable damage. In addition, Ingrid's shooting accuracy is extremely high. While Cal-re and Shiva of the Black Knight Squad attack at high speed, the missiles only hit Strike Freedom. In a later scene, Orpheus says humans are fools, dragging each other down with worthless emotions. This perfectly describes his state of mind, consumed by hatred for Kira, as he declares the use of all the Ziggurat's missiles against Freedom. At this point, Orpheus' attack on the Oak Fleet has already been thwarted. Albert assists with the combination of Proud Defender and Strike Freedom. Lacus yells engage, and the Proud Defender merges. From scenes earlier in the story and this one, it appears that the Proud Defender doesn't use phase shift armor. However, since detailed specifications have not yet been released, it's possible that it uses a technology like trans-phase armor. On the right side, there is a weapon called Futsunomi Tamo, which is a Japanese sword. This weapon was not equipped when the Proud Defender first appeared in the story. It's likely that it was hastily equipped to counter the Femtech armor. Director Fukuda mentioned on X that Futsunomi Tama was originally made for Akatsuki, and it was hastily equipped for the mighty strike Freedom. The cockpit screen is displayed, showing that power, fuel, and coolant are being replenished. In Great Mechanics, Mr. Fukuda commented on this scene. Strike Freedom didn't run out of energy, but the impact limit of the phase shift armor had reached a dangerous level, and the engine temperature was too high. In other words, it was in an overheated state. The combination with the Prow Defender allowed for rapid cooling. Apparently, the entire unit was in a state of thermal runaway, with various components not functioning properly. The cooling allowed the nuclear engine to provide normal power. It appears that coolant is also being supplied by the Prow Defender. Power is restored to 80% and fuel to 75%. How is the fuel replenished? It may be coming from the Prow Defender. But there are other possibilities. The wings of the Strike Freedom are equipped with technology derived from the Voiture Lumiere instead of conventional fuel. This device converts the energy from the nuclear engine into a laser, which is then used for propulsion. Perhaps propellant means energy used for propulsion rather than its traditional meaning. It is possible that the propulsion units of Strike Freedom were replaced with new ones using Voiture Lumiere technology. Later scenes also suggest the use of nuclear engine power for propulsion. I'll get to that later. Of course, this is just my personal interpretation. In addition, it's possible that the Prow Defender has stored reserve fuel. However, it seems quite challenging to fit coolant fuel and even a device that generates lightning attacks into the small Prow Defender. Let's look forward to the release of detailed specifications on this point. The Prow Defender emits gold and pink particles. Detailed specifications of these particles have not yet been released. Only the setting nanoparticles controllable by mental feedback has been revealed. Beams are fired from the large dragoon, the ziggurat. Since the beams follow a curved trajectory, it seems to be using the Geschmeidig Panzer technology. There are nanoparticles around Freedom. If you look closely, you can see gold particles being generated from the wings, which then separate into gold and pink particles. The pink particles appear to be a transformed version of the gold particles. The pilot seems to be able to control whether to use the particles as gold or transform them into pink particles through mental feedback. The ziggurats being collides with the space formed by the particles. The novel describes that nanoparticles absorb certain wavelengths of electromagnetic waves, generating heat. If you watch this scene, you can see the energy of the beam being converted into yellow energy. Then the missiles collide with the yellow energy and explode. It seems that the defense takes advantage of the enemy's beam attacks by converting them into energy. Femtech armor has a strong defense against beam weapons. In contrast, the Nasha vertical defense not only nullifies beam weapons, but also converts the absorbed energy into a defense mechanism against physical weapons such as missiles. This scene proves that the technology of which, from Earth's Lacus Siemens, surpasses that of the Foundation Kingdom. The mighty Strike Freedom Gundam emerges from the explosion and smoke. At that moment, Lars Klein is outside the cockpit. Surprisingly, Lars is unaffected by the beams and missiles. This means that the defensive wall created by the nanoparticles also blocks heat and explosive impacts. The wing-like components of Lars' flight suit are spread open. Could these wings be controlling the nanoparticles? The fact that it works without a pilot in the cockpit is reminiscent of the Psycho Gundam from Sega Gundam. By the way, I mentioned earlier that the Prow Defender was not originally intended for human piloting. If this pilot suit has the function of controlling nanoparticles, does that mean that Kira was supposed to wear this suit? It's a rather intriguing element. Ophi Heart is consumed by anger and hatred. In the novel, it is described that Ophi feels the fact that Lacus, who is supposed to be at his side as the leader of their code, is with Kira as the ultimate betrayal. When Ophi sees Lacus looking at him with determined eyes, he forgets his calculations, his ideals, and his own role from that moment on. The description of forgetting his role is very intriguing. It suggests a lack of composure, which is not a good situation. However, it could also be interpreted as being freed from the role imposed by Queen Ur. Being freed from his role, the actions he chose with his free will to destroy others are quite tragic. This scene with Ophi may indicate why Gilbert Journal did not act alongside Ur and the code. Kala's Dragoon and the Ziggurat fire their beams simultaneously. Freedom defends against all attacks with the Nasha particle-generated defensive wall. Upon closer inspection, the nanoparticles form a spherical space. The gold particles form a ring-like shape, while the pink particles create the space. It can be assumed that the pilot controls the gold particles through mental feedback, converting them into pink particles that have the function of absorbing energy and converting it into heat and deploying them around the unit. Lacus activates her seed ability. The space is filled with a blue light reminiscent of Kira's. It's an interesting visual touch, recalling that Kira's seed ability emitted a pink light reminiscent of Lacus. This is in keeping with the movie's tagline, "You are within me." Lacus instantly locks onto enemy missiles and warships. Dedicated fans have counted and found that she locks onto 4,672 targets here. Let's take this opportunity to check the number of mobile suits used in the Battle of Abaku, often referred to as the largest war in the Universal Century series. According to the book Strategic and Tactical Encyclopedia, the Earth Federation forces used 4,800 mobile suits, while the Zeon forces used 3,600 mobile suits. It seems that Lacus could single-handedly destroy the Zeon forces. Standards vary from country to country, but in the real world, some military forces consider themselves annihilated when they lose 30% of their strength. By this standard, Lacus is capable of single-handedly destroying both the Earth Federation and Zeon forces. After the war with the Foundation Kingdom, Mr. Fukuda says that countries around the world and radical organizations like the Blue Cosmos are desperately searching for Lacus. Indeed, a person with such fighting skills is extremely important. In the scene where Lacus locks on other important elements appear on the screen. Earlier, I mentioned the hypothesis that Boichir Lumiere could be used as the power source for Strike Freedom's propulsion units other than the wings. Let's take a look at the cockpit screen. The fuel section is just under 30%. Throughout the battle so far, Mighty Strike Freedom has only been playing defense. It hasn't used its engines to fly around. It has only used nanoparticles for defense. However, it has consumed a large amount of fuel. This means either the fuel are being converted into nanoparticles, or the nuclear engine's energy is being used for both nanoparticles and fuel. Let's look at other screens. Energy, which was restored to 80% earlier, is now fully restored to 100% when Lacus performs the lock-on. It appears that the power supply from the nuclear engine has been fully restored. The status of the phase shift armor is marked caution in yellow. This indicates that the Mighty Strike Freedom is not in perfect condition. The system that provides power to the phase shift armor may be damaged, or Kira may be limiting the power used for the phase shift armor and diverting it to create nanoparticles instead. When the Nasha particle defense is significantly increased, it appears to consume nearly 50% of the propulsion power. Many viewers may have felt that Kira and his allies were overwhelmingly dominant once Mighty Strike Freedom appeared in the movie. However, careful observation reveals that Kira and Lacus delicately operated the difficult-to-control Gundam to achieve victory. Freedom uses a lightning attack. The novel explains that this lightning attack uses the function of nanoparticles to convert absorbed energy into heat. It describes that heat creates an electric field, and the movement of electrons creates a current. When Freedom parried the beam attack from Cal-re and Ziggurat, he did not emit a yellow light like he did during the first attack. It seems that in the scene, it absorbed the enemy's attack and prepared for its own counterattack. The novel also mentions that the name Defender comes from the characteristic of transforming the enemy's attack into one's own attack. The lightning attack causes missiles to explode and disables warships and dragoons. This phenomenon is similar to the Zaft Army's gun gear. It's interesting that missiles explode while warships are merely disabled. Could this be controlled by Lacus' mental feedback? Kira requests the use of the Disruptor, and Lacus grants Kira's request. Although Kira cannot see the Ziggurat, he determines that it is necessary to destroy the enemy attacking from behind the space fortress Messiah. Even though the enemy cannot be seen, Kira speaks with full confidence that he can destroy it. I will discuss this point later. The Disruptor was needed to destroy the enemy behind a massive object. Kira had limited its use because he knew it was too powerful a weapon to use at his own discretion. Fans often comment, isn't the approval system meaningless if the requester and the Emperor are lovers? However, Kira's decision is correct. This is because there is a possibility that Kira may not be able to make a sound judgment for some reason. This is just like Kira's state of confusion caused by Cole's abilities in the first half of the movie. Lacus tells Kira the location of the Ziggurat. This scene provides an answer to the previous question. It was strange that Kira decided to use the Disruptor before Lacus told him the location of the Ziggurat. This is the first time Kira sees Lacus' amazing ability. It's almost as if Kira knew that Lacus could locate the enemy. This may have something to do with the nanoparticle's mental feedback. There is a possibility that Kira learned about Lacus' ability through the nanoparticles. In Gundam Formula 91, there's a scene where the Gundam suggests an effective weapon to the pilot. Perhaps the Mighty Strike Freedom facilitates the connection between Kira and Lacus. You could even call this Gundam her engagement ring. The word engage spoken by Lacus during the combination becomes even more significant. When Lacus focuses her mind, the color of Kira's eyes changes. It's the same color as when Lacus activates her seed ability. The scene then shifts to show Kira's perspective. In the first half of the story, Ako's ability showed Kira forcing formation, making him see enemies that weren't there. In contrast, this scene shows the hidden enemy that must be defeated. The Disruptor, a powerful weapon that disrupts atoms and suppresses nuclear fission, is activated. Upon closer inspection, you can see gold particles accumulating at the muzzle of the Disruptor. The color of the particles changes to pink halfway through and gradually becomes stronger. Then the Disruptor is fired. The novel describes the Disruptor as a blade invisible to the human eye. To express this invisibility, a special effect changes the color of the screen. The black light represents the path of the Disruptor. It appears as if there is red or pink light around the black light. The Disruptor is a weapon that uses heavy nucleons. I'm not well versed in difficult scientific theories, but it appears that the pink particles can be converted into heavy nucleons when they are collected. Also, energy of the same color as the Disruptor can be seen emanating from the back of Freedom. In this scene, Kira explains that he will use the Defender at 80% power. The unused energy for the attack may be released. Perhaps the heavy nucleons are used as propulsion energy to control the Disruptor's recoil. The use of black light to depict this suggests that the energy being expelled from the back is the same as that of the Disruptor. The Disruptor's attack slices through the Space Fortress Messiah and the Ziggurat. Let's take a closer look at the cut surfaces in this scene. The Messiah is very sharply cut. However, the cut surface of the Ziggurat is crumbling, melting like cheese from the heat. In contrast, the metal parts of the Messiah do not crumble, like the Ziggurat. The Disruptor's destructive power diminishes as it passes through the Messiah. While the Disruptor appears to be the ultimate invincible weapon, its destructive power seems to diminish when it comes in contact with objects. This is where Lacus' fearsome tactics come into play. Lacus is not only kind-hearted, she can also calmly analyze situations and make cold, calculated decisions. Cal-re attacks Freedom with a beam cannon from her abdomen. In response, Freedom deploys a beam shield. The nanoparticle shield is extremely powerful and can block a large number of beams. If Freedom was just facing Cal-re, she should be able to block all beam attacks without using the beam shield. However, Freedom deploys the beam shield, probably because she doesn't have enough energy to generate the nanoparticles. Upon closer inspection, the space and golden ring of light created by the nanoparticles are smaller than in previous scenes. Also, Freedom, which was defending against Cal-re's beam, is being pushed back. In previous scenes, where she blocked numerous beams and missiles, he stood her ground. But in this scene, it is pushed back by Cal-re's beam. This indicates that Freedom, having expended a great deal of energy, is not in an optimal state. It is defending itself against Cal-re's beam rifle attack, but is not converting the energy into yellow light. Ingrid senses Shu's defeat. Ophi becomes even angrier and loses his composure. At this point, Lacus speaks to Ophi. This is the beginning of Lacus' terrifying tactics. Lacus is an occult and can read Ophi's mind. Since the seed era, Lacus has been described as having a keen ability to see into the essence of the human heart. She understands that Ophi is losing his composure and that he harbors a great deal of anger toward her. Talking to him in such a state would likely backfire, which Lacus can easily understand. It's easy to imagine that it would only make him angrier. Nevertheless, Lacus talks to Opning. Of course, it's possible that she genuinely wants Opning to stop fighting. But would she make such an optimistic decision, given the harsh realities she has repeatedly witnessed? If they lose here, innocent people of old will be killed, and the world will fall under the rule of the Foundation Kingdom through fear. I believe that Lacus is acting to ensure victory. This is to buy time for freedom to regain its energy after consuming so much. If Opning were calm, he might have figured out Lacus' plan. But from the moment Lacus joined freedom, Opning had abandoned rational thoughts of calculation ideals, and Rose Lacus understands Opning's psychological state. While Ingrid could sense Shua's death, Opning couldn't until he heard Ingrid's words. Lacus' battle tactics honed through numerous psychological battles with various people, as a politician suppressed Opning's actions and bought time for freedom to recover. Opning accuses Lacus, saying, "You enjoy being worshipped by those you consider inferior." Kira reacts with surprise, but Lacus remains completely unmoved. This shows that Opning's reaction was within her expectations. Cal-re readies her sword. Upon closer inspection, it's the same stance Kira used during the Sea Destiny era. It seems that Opning has analyzed and learned Kira's fighting techniques. Kira equips the Futsu no Mitamo, a weapon designed to defeat Cal-re, with her femtech armor. At this point, Kira raises both arms above her head. Some fans say that this stance is meant to protect Lacus by putting his arms in front of the cockpit. It certainly looks that way. But if protecting Lacus was the priority, wouldn't it be more effective to use the beam shield at the same time? Freedom is not using the shield in this scene. This is just my personal interpretation, but it seems that Kira is using the same stance as Shin. Director Fukuda described Shin's fighting style in the brochure as characterized by piercing the opponent's heart all at once. Kira's decision to defeat Opning in this scene may have led him to deliberately incorporate Shin's fighting style. In the scene where Shin readies his sword while preparing to fire the railgun, it felt like Shin was learning Kira's fighting style. It's interesting to think that Kira and Shin might be learning from and influencing each other's fighting styles. Shin's stance proved effective against Freedom in the battle between Impulse Gundam and Freedom Gundam. In this scene, you can also see an increase in the number of nanoparticles flying around Freedom. Lacus' psychological tactics succeeded in creating a favorable situation for Freedom. Freedom intercepts Cal-re's sword with the beam shield on his left arm and the Futsu no Mitamo on his right arm. At this point, the scene briefly cuts to other characters fighting. When the scene returns to Freedom, he is defending against Cal-re's beam with the nanoparticle defense wall. There is no yellow light here. This means that the enemy's attack is not converted into yellow hit energy, but into energy for the next attack. That's right! Lacus is using the psychological battle to buy time to generate nanoparticles and prepare for the Disruptor attack with the generated nanoparticles. Lacus is talking to Opning again. Is she using another mind battle? In this scene, Lacus speaks to him with a rich expression, moving her face and speaking earnestly to Opning. The human heart is not simple. Just as Isaac tried to convince Juggernaut to the end, Lacus may be hoping deep down that Offie will give up the fight. Of course, it's also possible that she is buying more time to prepare the Disruptor. If that's the case, it shows Lacus' code and calculated side. Unlike Lacus, Kira doesn't move at all. She may be staying calm to prepare for the enemy's attack. Or maybe seeing his beloved Lacus talking to Offie makes him quietly burn with jealousy and rage. Cal-re slashes at Freedom. Kira defends with her beam shield and then parries the next attack with her beam saber. Now let's focus on the next attack. Kira blocks Cal-re's attack with his left arm only. He uses the beam shield to block the attack from Cal-re's right arm and the beam saber to block the sword in her left arm. The Futsu no Mi is his trump card for offense. He holds it ready for an attack at any moment, and this is where Kira begins his maneuver to take Cal-re down. But remember, Futsu no Mi isn't his only powerful weapon. That's right, Kira has the beam shield in front of his face, so Cal-re can't see it. And hidden in Freedom's face is the powerful Disruptor weapon. Cal-re tries to push Freedom's beam saber away with the sword of her left arm. This action leaves Freedom's cockpit vulnerable. It appears that Cal-re is stronger in a head-to-head battle. Cal-re fires her abdominal beam cannon, but this attack is blocked by the nanoparticle defense wall. Upon closer inspection, pink particles can be seen gathering towards the cannon's muzzle. It may be possible to control the concentration of particles through mental feedback. Lacus' tactic of stalling to allow Freedom to regain its energy works. Had Offie ignored Lacus' conversation and acted, Freedom might have run out of energy and been defeated in the scene. Once more detail the beam saber. Inside the nanoparticles retains its shape. The nanoparticles, which have the ability to absorb and cancel beams, have no effect on it. It could be that the mighty strike Freedom's beam saber uses technology that prevents it from being affected by the nanoparticles. Or perhaps Lacus' mind control is set so that the saber is unaffected. In the Universal Century series, the beam scattering curtain reduced the effectiveness of beam weapons for both allies and enemies. The nanoparticle defense wall appears to be an advancement in technology. After defending against Cal-re's beam cannon, the muzzle of the Disruptor on Freedom's forehead is revealed. Offie couldn't see it because it was hidden by the beam shield and the light from Cal-re's beam cannon. Kira uses both the beam shield and the enemy's attack to create a favorable situation. The Disruptor attack destroys Cal-re's left arm and wing. Freedom attacks again wielding the Futsu no Mi in a scene reminiscent of the final battle in Seed. Cal-re's sword is blocked by the beam shield and deflected outward. This is a favorite technique of Heroes, used in his battles with Aegis Gundam and Savior Gundam. In this scene, the effect of the Disruptor may come into play. The Disruptor has the effect of suppressing nuclear fission. The nuclear engines in the Seed series mobile suits are fission engines. It is currently unknown whether Cal-re's engine is nuclear or battery-powered. However, given the powerful weaponry Cal-re is equipped with, it is highly likely that she has a nuclear engine. Cal-re's sword is dramatically deflected by the beam shield. Earlier, Cal-re overpowered Freedom, pushing aside the arm holding the beam saber and leaving the cockpit vulnerable. But in this scene, his arm is violently deflected. This suggests that the Disruptor may have caused critical damage, significantly reducing the power of the engine. In the final battle of Shao's counterattack, Shao Aznavour exclaimed in anguish, "Is it a power down?" before being defeated by Emerald Race's new Gundam. Similarly, in the battle between Mighty Strike Freedom and Cal-re, a power down could have been a deciding factor in the outcome. Cal-re loses his balance and is defeated by Futsunomi Tamao. In the background, the Requiem is destroyed by Destiny Gundam's attack. The towering inferno signifies Kiro's victory, while Cal-re's defeat is merely a tragic end. Inside Cal-re's damaged cockpit, Ingrid expresses her feelings for Ophi. She has long kept her feelings for Ophi very deep within her heart, hidden from Ophi and others with occult abilities. In this moment, Ingrid reveals her feelings. She says only a few words to Ophi, "I know." Some fans felt that Ingrid didn't fully express her feelings until the end. But think about it. Ophi has occult abilities. And in that moment, Ingrid stops hiding her feelings. Although her words were short, her whole heart was probably conveyed to Ophi. Proof of this is Ophi shedding tears just before he is consumed by flames. Understanding each other's hearts without words is one of the ideal images of nudies described in the Universal Century series. In that brief moment, Ophi may have awakened as a nudie, freeing himself from the role imposed on him by Queen Aurora. This is just my personal interpretation. The Black Knight Squad's color is characterized by white paint. Many fans may have wondered why his appearance is the opposite of his name. I predict that he was originally painted black, but after some modifications she was repainted white. However, there are other possibilities. For example, in the real world, France has the concept of the Black Knight. This term refers to a knight without a clear lord and vassal relationship. Ophi fights for Queen Aurora. But in his words during the final battle, there is mistrust towards Aurora. Why am I not loved by anyone? Aurora's actions seemed loving on the surface, but Ophi had his doubts. Humans are fools, letting petty emotions cause them to sabotage each other. Everyone is an idiot. Or who abandoned the original mission to attack Rob due to Kiro's provocation would also be included in everyone. Ophi may have truly been the Black Knight. He had no true master to serve. In Seed Freedom, the story conveys that the heart that cares for loved ones is more valuable than socially required status or skills. The message is that what you really want from your heart is what matters. Just before he was consumed by flames, Ophi may have realized true love, the true master he should serve as a knight. From this perspective, one could look at the story and say, Cal-re, despite his white appearance, should be called the Black Knight because of the nature of the story. This is the end of the final battle between Kiro Yamamoto and Lars crying. Which scene impressed you the most? For me, the scene where Kira uses the same stance as Shin to attack with his sword was incredibly captivating. Shin's fighting style is the one that defeated Freedom. Using the same style to defeat Cal-re, who fights similarly to Freedom, is a very effective tactic. It's fascinating to see a battle in which not only powerful new weapons, but also the pilot's past experiences play a crucial role. Of course, whether Kira intentionally used the same stance as Shin is unknown. Hopefully this will be discussed in the staff interviews. Afterwards, Kira leaves Force with Lars. The Gelgook menace watches as Freedom takes off quickly, ignoring the signal lights. The pilot is Hilda. Hilda has romantic feelings for Lars, and in the final scene of Sea Destiny, she is seen with a pained expression as she watches Lars embrace Kira. Hilda begins to return to the battleship Millennium without making any move to stop Freedom, storing her shield. In Seed Freedom, Hilda was disappointed in Kira at one point. She felt a quiet anger toward Kira for saying, "Lars betrayed us." In the novel, she told Afron with a cold, angry expression, "If you hadn't hit him, I would have surprising Afron." When she stopped Shin from trying to stop the fight, her expression was filled with serious anger. Perhaps the greatest victory Kira achieved in the final battle was to be recognized by Hilda as a person worthy of standing beside Lars. Thank you for watching until the end. See you next time.